Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. It is I, Emily Sophia, aka M Mighty Sophia, here to break down for you guys the latest episode of Better Call Saul. We are on season 2, episode 7, Inflatable. So, spoiler alert, as I shall be diving into the thick of things in this review, and I will do my best to break it all down for you guys. And also, yes, to address the elephant in the room, that is my face. I'm actually not wearing eye makeup for maybe the first time since I've started doing these TV reviews, so feast your eyes. I hope that this is not disturbing or distressing to you, the fact that I look different. But anyway, so now that that is out of the way, let us get into this business. So, yet another incredible episode in a stream of ceaselessly incredible episodes. We now have only, is it 3 left? Yeah, if I can do my math right, count to 10, I guess. But wow, was this an astonishingly entertaining ride, of course. I would be remiss not to mention probably the most amazing montage of this show's history. I don't know if, there's been some pretty amazing montages in Breaking Bad's days, so I'm not necessarily going to be comparing apples and oranges here, but the inflatable man / how to lose a job in 10 days sequence with Jimmy James McGill was a pleasure to behold. Of course, we got the crazy rainbow suits directly inspired by one of those inflatable dancing men that you see in the used car lots. And a procession of other insanities that only Jimmy could concoct, of course, getting the whole office juicer, being the obnoxious late night janitor, learning the bagpipes, and not flushing. These are all very creative tools in Jimmy's toolkit, and he wields all of them to their fullest power once he realizes that, well, I want out of Davis and Maine, but I want my bonus. So this is the scheme that Jimmy unfurls and unleashes upon his unexpected colleagues, and ultimately he gets exactly what he wants and even pays $7,000 to keep his fancy schmancy desk. So all in a day's work for the good lawyer man. And there's actually a very authentic moment that comes out of all of that insanity as he's finally addressing his former boss and saying, I'm a square peg. It's just didn't fit for me, and it's true that Davis and Maine gave him the opportunity to succeed and to be a team player, and things could have gone in a very, very different direction. But we know the inner workings of Jimmy, and we know that he is not satisfied until he becomes his own boss. He is a free agent, and he knows precisely what he's capable of and precisely what he can do. And once he is unfettered and his creative vision untampered by external parties, well, that's where he's really in his element and he can really shine. Now, I also want to hop back to the beginning of the episode where we get a bit of a flashback to Jimmy's childhood in the days of working as cashier in his dad's convenience shop, which, as it turns out, it's a bit too convenient of a stop, as right off the bat, scammer shows up, con man. He's got this whole sob story and just wants a couple bucks for his trouble. And Jimmy's dad is more than willing to oblige and help this guy out, playing it like a good Samaritan of the retail world. But even Jimmy, as a young little whippersnapper, knows that something is askew with this guy and tries to say, "Hey, yo, Dad, this is really not what you think it is. He's he takes you for a fool, you know? And his dad refuses to believe that. And now, just when you think that maybe the whole horror story that Chuck told Kim was false, just when you're starting to think that Jimmy was actually trying to help his dad and his dad was just the one who was selling himself short, well, he actually does take money out of the register after that guy who takes his dad's $10 says, you know, there's wolves and there's sheep in the world and you've got to decide who you're going to be. And that kind of sets the tone for a lot of Jimmy's future exploits and gives us a little insight into his character. And it's almost as if it's out of spite towards his father's gullibility and his naivete, that he would take this guy at face value. And so it's really interesting because Jimmy in that scene, he looks angry, like he doesn't even want to do this. It's like, oh, Dad, come on, like seriously. It's such a fascinating scene, and I really hope that we get to see more into his past and into who he was, even as a wee little child. So yeah, there's that. And in the whole process of Jimmy deciding that now is the time to make his splashy exit from Davison, Maine, in the midst of all of that, he knows exactly who he wants to have by his side for what's to come, and that is Kim Wexler. He knows that she is looking for a new opportunity, a new way to put herself out there in the world, and that HHM is just really not going to cut it for her. You know, she's not on the partner track. It took her long enough to get out of document review, and now she's got this fabulous job offer on the table. So clearly she's looking, and he wants to be supportive of her in whatever she decides to do. But, you know, he makes a modest proposal, even brings a little proof of concept to Kim and invites her into the conference room at HHM to try to sway her to his side, or really to their side, for them to make a platform together. You know, go be Victor and Giselle, attorneys at law, you know? I would like to see that. I really, really would. But, of course, Kim is going to stick to her guns, and she knows that for as much as she loves and is charmed by Jimmy to no end, as much as she trusts his intellect and his cunning and his abilities as a lawyer, she knows that he has a certain approach. And there is no way that he's going to be able to resist taking whatever approach he pleases if the two of them are to partner with one another. And Kim does not want their partnership to be the stake that is driven between them. And they both know full well that they are entirely different people in that regard. And yet they're pieces of a puzzle. They interlock and they fit. And where there is absence in one, there is presence in another. And so they just mesh. They get that. But there's also a little bit of polarization at play, of course, as we see that Kim refuses to compromise. She doesn't want a part of the slippin' Jimmy game. But she does want a part of Jimmy in his life, in his freedom, truly. She wants to have that same kind of agency and for them to be equal players and to be side by side. So almost together, but solo practitioners. And I mean, it crushed my heart to see Kim on that rooftop smoking a cigarette and then ripping their little business card apart. And so she's looking at the W and the M. There's kind of this like yin and yang effect, you know, as if they really do complement one another. But she breaks it down and she looks at it and says, okay, here we are, you know, two roads diverged in a yellow wood. But then decides, after totally nailing her job interview and accidentally referring to the head honcho as Howard. Well, that's just too uncanny of a Freudian slip for her, and that is something she cannot abide, because it shows her that, yeah, she's just moving to what could potentially be the exact same kind of situation that she's been in. She's under somebody else's regime and is at somebody else's mercy. And Jimmy really accentuates her strengths in a way that I just love so much, you know, as he's talking about the lengths that she went to get one of HHM's new clients. And it was that dedication to get herself up and out of document review and back to her position of power, back to a place where she can truly do what she's good at. Imagine being able to do that just because you're good at it, not because you have to prove yourself over and over and over. And in order to escape the quicksand, you have to reach and reach and reach and reach. For her to just be able to do and to not be afraid of somebody just taking something away from her, that's so valuable. Jimmy sees her value. She sees her value too. And so finally, they both realize that they're a couple square pegs in this round, round world. And, well, time for them to both strike out together-ish. With an asterisk, you know? So I know that this partnership, their solo practicing, it's the beginning of the end. It really, really is. It may not seem like it right now, because now all of a sudden they have the best of both worlds. Their professional and their romantic lives are colliding and coalescing, and they're excited, they're moving forward, they're doing their own thing, but it's the fact that, you know, once that, just tearing that little business card, tearing the W apart from the M, there's something that runs deeper in that act itself. You know, I can't help but see that. I also think it's really cool that with the logo too, Jim put the W for Wexler before the M for McGill. I love it. Chivalry at its finest. I'm just saying. But yeah, so I continue to love and be afraid of their relationship, because I know that it is heading in unprecedented directions, and Lord knows what awaits these two. But I am so proud of them, and this is stuff that is just so gratifying to see. All of this has really been coming for them, and their lives that have been for so long running parallel continue to run parallel, just a little bit closer together. So we'll see how all of that goes. Now, there's also some stuff going on with Mike, too, as he does carry out the dirty work for the Salamancas in declaring that the gun was not Tuco's. But he's also trying to get a nicer home for his daughter-in-law, and is continuing to support her to the best of his ability, and in so doing becoming even more immersed in the crime world. You know, and it's really strange, because it almost is starting to seem like his daughter-in-law is taking advantage of him almost, and I really want to know what exactly is going on in her head and what's prompting this behavior, and for her to push and pull for more and more and more from Mike. Maybe it's just that mutual understanding they share, and she certainly seems to have gratitude towards him, but the fact of the matter is that she lied about those bullets that whizzed, you know, through the house, or, yeah, it was a lie. It was a lie. So now it seems like Mike may very well be on some kind of war path, and we're going to get to see the results of that next week, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. There's definitely more that can be said and that can be explored. I'm sure there's things that I missed, and I'm going to leave it up to you guys to bring those things up. Let's talk about it together. All right? So you guys be taken real good care of yourselves. And as always, I will be back before you